If you like superhero K-dramas and don't mind graphic violence, you will absolutely love Moving on Disney+. What makes this drama so compelling is that enemy and villain are not necessarily the same thing, and the good guys might not fit your traditional definition of good. Quick heads up before we dive in, I'm going deep into spoilers for Season 1, including major plot points and how it ends. So if you haven't watched it yet, bookmark this and come back. Alright, let's dive into what makes Moving so great and what they'll need to cover in Season 2 to do the story justice. Our story revolves primarily around 3 teenagers with superpowers and their families. First, there's Bong-suk, a boy who has to eat constantly and wear a weighted backpack to keep himself from floating away. Then there's Jang Hee-soo, a girl with regenerative abilities that essentially make her invincible. And finally, Kang-hoon, a boy with super speed and immense strength. All 3 attend Jungwon High School, but this is no ordinary school. It was created by a secret department within the NIS, South Korea's National Intelligence Service, that recruits agents with superhuman abilities. The school's purpose is to identify which children should be recruited into the NIS program after graduation, though that information is kept secret from the students. This isn't like Professor X's school for mutants and X-Men. Most of the students are completely unaware that people with superpowers are sitting right next to them in their classroom. While our 3 main teenagers discover the truth about one another and begin to bond, their parents are dealing with a much different problem. Most of the parents are former NIS agents who went into hiding to protect their families, because the NIS like to use their loved ones as leverage to force them to carry out missions. Even though they've left their government jobs, they still aren't safe. Assassins from America and North Korea have infiltrated the country and are systematically wiping out former agents while searching for their children. And this is where Moving sets itself apart from other superhero shows. While the assassins might be our characters' enemies, they aren't villains. What distinguishes good from bad in this show isn't the difference between saint and sinner. Our heroes have body counts that could fill tomes. What makes them good is their willingness to do anything to protect the people they love. The show gives us glimpses of the assassins' backstories. For the North Korean agents, refusing a mission means becoming a traitor, which means death for 3 generations of their family. So, to protect their loved ones, the mark of a hero, they attack our main characters. And Frank, the American assassin, is the same story in a different uniform. He was kidnapped as a child and brainwashed into a tool for his government. He was given no more choice than our heroes were, and that is what defines a villain in this show. Not killing or lying or stealing, but taking away the free will of others. The true enemy isn't the person trying to kill you. It's the government bigwig who gave that man no choice but to kill you. Another aspect of being good in Moving is the ability to show unconditional love. We see this play out across multiple relationships. Take Jang Ju-won, Hee-soo's father, a former gangster who killed countless people for his boss, and thought of himself as such a monster that it became his street name. His wife, Hwang Ji-hee, had worked for a coffee delivery service that was a front for prostitution, and was used to being treated disrespectfully because of it. But Ju-won never judged her. And to Ji-hee, he wasn't a monster either. He was like the Incredible Hulk, a figure who used violence, but for a reason. They didn't view each other as bad, despite doing things society deems wrong. They believed in each other's goodness and trusted that their bad deeds came wrapped in context. This theme echoes forward into the next generation too. When Hee-soo learns Bong-suk's secret, he worries she'll think he's weird, but she doesn't see him that way at all. To her, he's just different and special. She accepts Bong-suk as he is, and when she, in turn, admits her own powers to him, he shows her the same acceptance. That's what it means to love in this story. Being able to look at someone's truth, whether it's something that marks them as unusual or behavior the world looks down on, and accept them wholly regardless. The action in this series is visceral, inventive, and deeply consequential. Fair warning, the fight scenes may be a bit much for viewers sensitive to graphic violence. The show pulls no punches. Bones break, limbs twist, and there are these really gruesome stabbings. One image burned forever into my brain is a close-up of a crushed-in skull with a pile of teeth sitting in it like a candy bowl. But if those things don't bother you, the fights are intense and genuinely thrilling to watch as different powers stack up against each other. Beyond the combat, one thing Moving does exceptionally well is the way it lets information unfold. The show gives you just enough to understand what's happening now, while slowly revealing details that add unexpected depth to what you thought you already understood. When we first meet the parents, they appear to be devoted moms and dads struggling to raise teenagers with superpowers. Over time, their own backstories emerge, and the generational weight of living with these abilities comes into full focus. For instance, Bong-suk's parents Mi-hyun and Do-shik. Early on, we learn Mi-hyun has been raising Bong-suk alone, desperately trying to hide his floating ability. She even strapped him to her back when he was 5 or 6 years old to keep him from drifting away. As a mother, this storyline completely worked on me. I obviously never had to keep my children from floating into the sky, but I did raise twins. And I can tell you that first year was so exhausting, I refer to it as my lost year, because I can hardly remember anything about it. So when Mi-hyun tells her young son that mommy's tired, I felt that in my bones. Every moment of her day revolved around protecting her son, and the show does an incredible job of making that burden feel real. Later, they open a pork cutlet restaurant, which at first seems like a quiet way to make a living outside of the government's reach. But over time, we learn the giant neon sign on the roof is more than just advertising. Years earlier, when Bong-suk was a baby, agents found their hiding place. While Mi-hyun escaped with the baby, Do-shik held off the agents, promising he would find her. And suddenly, we understand. That giant blazing sign isn't just a sign. It's a beacon, lighting the sky to guide her husband home. The characters in Moving all have genuine growth arcs that feel earned. The best example is Mi-hyun and Bong-suk. Mi-hyun spent years trying to safeguard his secret. But in doing so, she denied him the chance to reach his full potential. He never learned to master his powers, remaining a sheltered boy who floated aimlessly and without control. But eventually, Mi-hyun learns to let go, allowing him independence. In the end, it's Bong-suk who protects her, carrying her to safety on his back, the same way she once carried him. He transforms from that sheltered boy floating aimlessly into a man who has mastered flight to protect the people he loves. A second season is already in production, and there are several threads the show will need to pick up to do the story justice. I won't call them flaws in season 1, because they feel more like deliberate setup, but they are things that need to be addressed. The biggest is Kang-hoon. He is the least developed of the 3 main teens. We never got to see into his head the way we did with the other characters. Outside of knowing he's a model student and class president, everything we know about him comes from learning his father's backstory. The most telling moment from his POV is when he beats up a bully to protect Hisu. While he's trying to protect a friend, he takes the violence much farther than necessary. There's a hint of darkness in him, and season 2 needs to dig into who he is internally before we see which way he falls. At the end of season 1, he begins his career with the NIS, the very organization that's been controlling everyone else. Will he become an ally to his friends or their enemy? Hopefully, season 2 will give us those answers and delve deeper into the man himself. Then there's Frank, the American assassin. We learn at the end of season 1 that he's still alive, though both the American and South Korean governments think he's dead. For the first time, he has genuine freedom. Season 2 will likely explore what he does with that newfound freedom, and that question alone could carry an entire arc. I'm really hoping they do it justice. There are also several side characters I'd love to see explored further. people on the margins of this world, since not everyone with powers is extraordinary enough to become an elite NIS agent. Ki-soo, for instance. The show hints he once had powers like Kang-hoon's, but a leg injury cost him his shot at the NIS, and bitterness over being cast aside turned him into the school's worst bully. I'd love to see whether he can eventually make peace with the life he was denied. Then there's Yang Han-byul. She doesn't have powers herself, but she was caught in the middle of the final battle and now knows the truth. The existence of superheroes is about to become public knowledge, and the government will almost certainly try to control the narrative. I'd love to see Han-byul become the voice willing to tell the real story. A Lois Lane type character could be exactly what this world needs. As for my rating, for now I'm going to give this amazing superhero story 5 out of 5 soju bottles. Now, this may change depending on what Season 2 delivers, but if it picks up where Season 1 left off and gives these characters and storylines the attention they deserve, Moving has every chance of becoming one of the best superhero shows out there. Let me know in the comments. What are your theories about what we'll see in Season 2? And if you enjoyed the way Moving shows how good people are sometimes forced to do terrible things to protect the ones they love, you might enjoy my book Beneath the Destiny Stone. It explores some of those very same themes. Here's a small sneak peek of the audiobook. Enjoy!
I need you here to tend to the bodies. Tend to them? Nope. Didn't like the sound of that. Not one bit. Do it in the smithy. Should be an axe or a sword in there you can use. My mouth fell open. You want me to cut them up? Are you insane? Hell no. I cut my hands through the air. I'll dig graves if you want, but I'm not dismembering bodies. She put a hand to my face. I ken what I'm asking you isn't easy, but for family, we do what we must.